afternoon. We are live. I'm Andy Andrews. You have joined us on the Blue Plate Special here from Wisdom Harbor Studios in beautiful downtown Orange Beach, Alabama. We're on the famous escalator statues that we have here at the wharf. They look just like real escalators, and they're life-size and everything. Marcy Crosser-Taylor, good morning to you. Patricia Clapp from North Carolina, and you shared. Thank you so much. If you're new to us, if you're on Facebook, please click that notification button and turn your notifications on your phone so that when we go live anytime here, you will be notified that we are live. And if you will also share, like Patricia Clapp did, if you would share. There's a share button down there on Facebook. You can share this show to your page. Whether you're watching it live or watching it later, you can share it to your page, and we wish you would. There is, our live stream is cutting out. Well, you know, this is a Father's Day show, and most fathers can only work the remote control. Are we going? Or are we not?
Yeah, it's back up.
We're going?
Yeah, I'll let you know if it cuts out again.
Okay, Matt will let you people know at home if we cut out again, even though I would bet that you know before we know. Our people in the studio here are from Little Rock. Little Rock. Wow. A nice town, and also a song. Who did that song? Remember? Little Rock. I can't remember. Jerry Anderson's watching, but we're glad to have you from Little Rock. Now, side. And when you go in there, they've got at least 1 million shirts, and they let me wear them on the show. And so go tell them thanks and tell them that you and I are buddies, and they'll probably give you like full price. So, Jeannie Hendricks, hey, Alabama. Gloria Miles from sunshiny Michigan. It's not exactly sunshiny here in Orange Beach. George Coster, how you doing, man? You shared, and howdy. Kevin Elliott from Atlanta. Home. Kevin, did you see the great chicken sandwich, the chicken off, whatever it was? The great chicken sandwich challenge. Did you see that? Because they blindfolded me, and you won. You know, they gave me chicken sandwiches to try, and you won. Kevin Elliott is like a big dog with Chick-fil-A, and but it was like Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, Zaxby's, and Burger King. That's where it kind of ended up. Ron Reams, you're on Dauphin Island today. Glad to have you here. Hi to the people on Twitter and YouTube. If you're on YouTube, click that subscription button. We'd appreciate it. It costs you nothing to subscribe. You get what you pay for. Gene McDonald, hello, a friend of the friendless. And if you haven't seen Gene McDonald on YouTube, you need to look up Gene McDonald, Gene McDonald. And I mean, this guy is just incredible. Yes, Kevin Elliott, the Chicken Sandwich Wars. Yes, and you have won. Cherie Johnson Cooney, hello from Minneapolis. We've got a Father's Day show here for you. And what we decided to do is we thought that we would give you a list of some of the best television dads, some of the best movie dads, and some television dads by state, favorite dads by state. There was actually a poll done by state, and so you can see which dads are in which state, and I think you'll be kind of surprised. But first, we wanted to show you what we thought here at Wisdom Harbor Studios. And so we asked our fabulous staff to chime in and tell us, who was your favorite television dad?
My favorite television father is Jim Hopper from Stranger Things. He's my favorite because the girl in Stranger Things is kind of found, and he takes her in and changes his life to be a good father, so he adopts her. And that's why he's my favorite.
My favorite television dad is John Walton from The Waltons. And the reason I picked John Walton is because he always answered his kids with wisdom and always had integrity.
My favorite TV dad is Danny Tanner from Full House because he was a really good dad, loved his kids, raised great kids, and he disciplined his kids.
I would have to, first I was going to say the show that I picked, I thought maybe I'd be too young for it, but then I hear Emily's answer. I thought she would be too young to be watching that show. But I would have to say Frank Costanza from Seinfeld. He just always cracked me up. I remember just being a kid and always seeing him and just the way he go off on George and kind of everyone else around him. And I just think he's a great actor in general, or was a great actor. So that's my answer, Frank Costanza.
So my favorite TV dad is Ward Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver, because he always listened to the boys and he owned it when he was wrong. So he was a good dad.
Excellent. Unfortunately, they were all wrong. Of course, the correct answer is Andy Griffith. That is the correct answer. He is the best television dad of all time. Even though I was very interested in the answers that the team members gave here. Matt Jack, also, he mentioned, what's that, Stranger Things? Is that the name of the show? I don't even know what that is. But I know that Glenn Ellen Anderson, who is like my buddy, has guested on that show. She's been on that show several times. And that, he mentioned that the adoption was a part of that thing. And then he showed me, I wish he had said something about that, but he showed me a quote that he really liked, and it was about adoption. It said that your kids don't have to come from you, they can come through you. And it's a great quote. Jerry Anderson says that his favorite dad, and that is Glenn Ellen Anderson's father, by the way, Jerry. He says that Chuck Connors as Lucas McCain on The Rifleman. That's a good answer, too. That's a good answer. I remember the show on The Rifleman when they were camping out, and Lucas McCain, it was morning, and the sheriff and Mark were fixing breakfast, but Lucas hadn't waked up or awakened or awoken or woke up or any of those things, and he had his hat on his face, and they called him and he didn't move, and so they went over and called him. He didn't move, and so they pulled the hat off his face, and he's standing there and he's got sweat pouring off of him. He's looking up, and Mark says, "Dad, what's wrong?" And you hear, "Shh, shh, shh," and a rattlesnake has crawled into his bedding while he was asleep. The rattlesnake scene. Okay, so in our dad day, we're gonna tell you state by state. I mean, some of the states agree, and we're going to tell you with this poll who the favorite television dad is in each state in America. And I think this reveals a lot of cultural, sometimes cultural strangeness, I guess. But I don't know. Anyway, here, West Virginia believes that Dan Connor from Roseanne Dan Connor's the favorite dad from Roseanne for people in West Virginia. Wisconsin, their favorite dad is Reginald Red Foreman on that 70s show, which I didn't watch, so I don't really know.
Takes place in Wisconsin, though.
Oh, it takes place in Wisconsin. Well, there you go. They're kind of cheating to get that in. Wyoming believes that Tim the Toolman Taylor from Home Improvement is their favorite. Now, here's one. Alaska, Idaho, Kentucky, South Carolina, these 4 states agree that David Nolan from Charming Once Upon a Time. What is that? Charming Once Upon a Time?
I think it's Prince Charming, probably.
Prince Charming? But is that a television show?
Well, it takes place, it's kind of like a mixed up. Let me get my own. I don't think my mic's working.
Is your mic not working?
There we go. How about that?
Okay, so
Can you hear
what
me now?
is
I saw that show years ago, probably like at least 8 years ago, but it's kind of like a mixed up fairy tale world between what's going on in Never Ever Land and like the real world, and somehow they get like crossed over. I don't remember it that much, but so I don't think he's actually Prince Charming necessarily, but he is. It's kind of interesting.
He's not, but he is. There's Kentucky, South Carolina, and 2 other states, Alaska and Idaho. Okay, Arizona, their favorite dad is Hal from Malcolm in the Middle. Never really watched that show. I know what it is, though. But California, Little M, you'll be happy to know that California believes Danny Tanner from Full House is their favorite dad, even though he has moved from California now because he disciplines his kids, and so they kicked him out. All right, Colorado, Illinois, Oregon, and Washington. Their favorite dad is Homer Simpson from The Simpsons. That's now check this out. Check out who's saying this. This is Colorado, Illinois, Oregon, and Washington. They're Homer Simpson. Nothing against you guys who are watching, but I'm just saying that's just kind of weird. And he's a cartoon. I don't know if you know that or not. Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. Their favorite dad is Jack Pearson in This Is Us. Okay, I'm not familiar with that either. What is that? Anybody?
It's a show made to make you cry.
Oh, really?
I watched the first season of it, but after that, I couldn't really take it anymore. It's just a sad sob story, and then it's like, oh, it's so happy at the end, I'm crying again.
Okay, so but that was the biggest grouping of somebody like, Kathy Goodwin says, duh. Okay, all right. Let's see. Who else we got? Delaware chose Tony from Who's the Boss? Tony Danza. Remember? He was Tony in Taxi, and then on Who's the Boss, he was Tony. And in real life, his name is Tony. That's right. Okay. Who said? Andrew Reiser says embarrassed for being from Washington right now. Yeah, well, Homer. Hawaii, Kansas, and New Jersey, their favorite dad is Joe West from The Flash. I didn't think that show was that big to have that many people. Iowa, this makes sense. Iowa chose Jason Seaver from Growing Pains. Mid-America. Diane Glover says Robert Young. I guess that shows your age. I don't know, it shows mine too, because I know Robert Young's father knows best. Maine and Virginia. Their favorite father is Richard Gilmore from the Gilmore Girls. The Gilmore Girls, that's kind of like Nancy Drew or something, isn't it? No? No? It's like the Hardy Boys? No? No? Okay. I don't really know what the Gilmore Girls is about. If it was the Gilmore Guys, I would know, but it's girls. Minnesota, their favorite is Adam Braverman from Parenthood. Mississippi and Georgia, notice how that's, Mississippi and Georgia, they left us out of there. And I'm glad, because Mississippi and Georgia, their favorite father is Carl Winslow from Family Matters. A cartoon. Okay.
That's not a cartoon.
It's not?
No, it's got
Oh, it's Family
Urkel.
Guy that's a cartoon.
Oh yeah, that would have
Family
been
Guy.
terrible.
So what's Family Matters?
Get out of my house, Steve. That's all I know.
That rings no bells at all.
The did I do that? That guy that shows.
No bells.
Well, here. That's Carl.
Oh, okay. Carl Winslow from Family Matters. Now I know who you're talking about. That guy's very funny. I just didn't know. I don't watch that much TV unless it's the Andy Griffith Show. Missouri and New Hampshire. Now, this was odd to me that Missouri and New Hampshire kind of agreed on anything, but they agreed with SB, and their favorite dad was Ward Cleaver from Leave It to Beaver. Well, Wally and the Beaver. Montana and Ohio, Stephen Keaton from Family Ties. You remember Family Ties. Michael J. Fox, Meredith Baxter Birney, and Stephen Keaton and the mom. They were liberals, and they had this kid who was just like this, it's a high school kid who was like this Republican businessman, and he was just like terribly embarrassed by his parents. Ron Reams, did I do that? Yes, you watched that show too. And Jeannie Yao says Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty. That's a good father, but he's real. He's real, just so you know. Nebraska, their favorite dad is Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights. I like Nevada's choice. Now this, it could be because of geography, or it could be because Nevada skews an older demographic, but their favorite dad is Ben Cartwright from Bonanza. Do you know, I knew there were two brothers. I can't remember their names now, but they actually toured with Johnny Rodriguez's band. And their dad was the guitar player that came up with that lick in the theme song from Bonanza. He was the one who did down, 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 down. North Carolina, their favorite dad is Philip Banks from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. North Dakota, this is also a time warp choice, but I love it. It's Mike Brady from the Brady Bunch. Every time we're on a Zoom call, having a meeting on Zoom, that's what I think about, everybody in their boxes. So here's the story. South Dakota. Now, see, North Dakota chose Mike Brady. South Dakota is Charles Ingalls' Little House on the Prairie. So, both of those are that same time frame, aren't they? Tennessee, their favorite dad is Andy Brown from Everwood. Utah, this kind of surprised me. Fred Andrews from Riverdale. That's Archie Andrews' dad. Now we get to Washington, D.C. Who do you think their favorite dad is? Ned Stark from Game of Thrones. That makes sense. But New Mexico, their favorite TV dad is Walter White from Breaking Bad. Just, your average, everyday meth dealer. Okay? Yeah. But what a good dad. Happy Father's Day, Walter. Let's see. Florida. Now, this was really interesting. Listen to how many states here. Florida, Texas, Indiana, Michigan, and Oklahoma. You know who their favorite dad was? Gomez Addams from the Addams Family. I get Alabama and Louisiana's choice. George Jefferson from the Jeffersons. Well, we're moving on up. So, but Alabama and Louisiana, they didn't ask me. But I saved my favorite one for last because it just makes the most sense. Now, I have friends in Arkansas. I love Arkansas. There's a joke that how many Arkansas football players does it take to screw in a light bulb?
How many?
Nobody knows. They haven't got electricity in Arkansas yet. So Arkansas, their favorite dad was Jed Clampett. I just think that is hilarious. That is your favorite dad. Okay. All right. Arkansas. There we go. Even though I don't think he was from Arkansas. But Linda Rogers Coleman said, that is it. I am moving out of Texas. Well, don't take this too seriously. Don't move. Now, let me tell you what we're going to do next. Now, I'm going to give you my list of the best movie dads. Okay, and this is probably not the best, but it's some of my favorites. I'm going to tell you my 7 favorite movie dads. These are the best, just the best dads. Number 7 is Sean Connery in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Remember, Sean Connery was Indy's father, and when that movie was out, our boys were very, very small, and Adam had this little soprano voice, and he would imitate Sean Connery, and because remember, Indy was scared of snakes, and Adam would say, like Sean Connery in a soprano voice, he'd go, "Snakes, Junior, snakes." Mike Jakubic says Mike Baxter from Last Man Standing. And Judson Perkins agrees. Sean Connery's a good one. Sean Connery is wonderful. Just wonderful. Junior, he said. Okay, number 6 is Clark Griswold from the National Lampoon Vacation movies. Chevy Chase, Clark Griswold. He did a great job in that. Don't particularly like Chevy Chase that much, but the movies are really good. Okay. My number 5, and this might surprise you, okay, because this was a little bit of a cameo role, but I think it deserves inclusion in my list of best movie dads. Number 5 is Papa Elf in the movie Elf, as played by Bob Newhart. Yes. Come on, let me have it. Yeah. I love Bob Newhart. Nobody gets more out of nothing. Nobody gets more out of no sound than Bob Newhart. When he just looks and goes, I mean, he's great. So Papa Elf was great. Number 4, Mufasa from The Lion King. Great dad, as voiced by James Earl Jones. Okay, Mufasa from The Lion King. And yes, I know, it's a cartoon. Okay, so I know he's not a real lion, but movies. Number 3, here I'm sucking up to my wife by including this, but my number 3 favorite movie dad of all time is Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. It's played by Gregory Peck. And when I read the book, I was like 12. The first time I read the book, I was 12. And as I was reading it, I pronounced his name Atticus. I had never heard anybody say it, but it was Atticus. And when I would also read a 4-door sedan, I would read a 4-door sedan, because I'd never heard anybody say sedan. You know, it was a 4-door sedan. And it was a colonel instead of a colonel. But I was, you sounding out the words. But Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, which, by the way, Harper Lee's first choice for naming that book was To Kill a Blue Jay, and the publisher wouldn't go for it. Number 2, my number 2 favorite dad in the movies, Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams. Yeah, I mean, I just think, Mrs. Doubtfire was the greatest, doing all that because of those kids. I just thought, and the movie still holds up. But my number 1 favorite dad in the history of movies was Marlin, Nemo's dad, in Finding Nemo. Albert Brooks was that voice. And I think what a great father-son relationship. I went to see Finding Nemo with Austin. Austin was like 5, I guess. And I tell you, I was so mad before that movie started because we went to see it up here. And they showed a preview of this new movie that was coming out. It was the first, and we didn't know there would be 20 of them, but it was the first of a series, and it was the previews for Pirates of the Caribbean. And they showed that flesh melting off that guy's face, and Austin was terrified before the movie Finding Nemo ever started. And I'm like, you're taking little kids to this thing, and they're showing this, it was just crazy. I was so upset that I didn't eat my popcorn for like 30 seconds. Now, here's my last list. My last list on our Father's Day Blue Plate celebration is my 7 worst movie dads. Yeah. And I think this is even more interesting. I think the worst is more interesting than the best. That's a question that when I'm around celebrities, I will ask. I'll say, who is the coolest person that, coolest celebrity that you've ever been around, and, they're just very cool, and who was just the biggest butthole? And the butthole stories are always more fun to listen to. And so I think that the worst fathers in movies I think you'll enjoy this more. It's just like, it's kind of like why people watch NASCAR and bull riding. It's for the wreck, I mean, you don't want anybody to really get hurt, but if they do, you don't want to miss it. So here we go. number 7, the worst dads in movie history, my opinion. Number 7 is Reverend Moore in Footloose. The dad, played by John Lithgow, who was trying to do a no dancing law in the town. I mean, you got Kevin Bacon living in the town, and you're going to have a no dancing law. But anyway, I didn't like him. All right, number 6, worst dad in movie history. And this one may surprise you a little bit, because he wasn't really mean or anything. It's just was so stupid. George McFly in Back to the Future. Remember Marty McFly's dad? Oh God, I hated that. I hated that dad. My number 5 dad, worst dad in movie history, was the dad in the movie Poltergeist. Remember him? He's played by Craig T. Nelson. I just thought he was stupid. Okay, and that's why, because you're living in a house. You got your wife and your little girls, and something in the TV is going, "Get out," and you stay. Really? I mean, if I'm watching TV and something says "Get out," I'm gone before the T sounds on the out. I'm gone. But no, he stayed. So he was a bad movie father because he was just a bad father. Okay, and keeping with that theme, my number 4 worst father in movie history was Peter McAllister. Do you know who that is? Do you know who Peter McAllister is? Huh? Played by John Hurd in Home Alone 1 and 2. Okay, we can barely buy that you forgot your kid and went on vacation without your kid, but you do it twice?
And I think he's an only child.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, this is a bad dad. Okay. Now, my top 3 are serious bad dads. All right. So here we go. My number 3 worst dad in movie history, played by Robert Duvall, the Great Santini. You remember seeing that? Ooh. Man, it's a book by Pat Conroy. And it's supposed to be true, but good grief. Just pull that up on YouTube and watch just a little bit of that parenting there. My number 2 worst father in movie history, played by Marlon Brando, Don Corleone. Is that what you thought? Yeah. I mean, you've got, your father is the Godfather. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Whew. I mean, he was trying to do good things for his son, and if people didn't cooperate, you just cut a horse's head off and put it in the bed with the guy. Yeah, happy Father's Day, Don Corleone. All right. Are you ready for my number 1? You're going to love this, because this is the number 1 worst father in movie history. Darth Vader. Luke, I am your father. James Earl Jones. James Earl Jones. Now, isn't it amazing that James Earl Jones made the best father list and the worst father list, both with just his voice. Here's the voice of Mustafa, and here's the voice of Darth Vader. How about that? Brian Backen, the Twitter captain, says, well, Bill Cosby needs to make this one. Yeah, which list? Which list? You know, good grief. I mean, you know, Huxtable was a good father, but Cosby. Serena Stoll Garner says, I knew it would be Darth. Really? Really? Luke, I am your father. Sandra Mirabelli, this is your very first Father's Day without a dad. Well, I'm sorry. You know, that it's going to be a hole in the day for you. I have had I've had more days, more Father's Day. I've had twice as many Father's Days without my dad than I did with my dad. But you probably had a great dad. And so that's something you can be certainly thankful for. That not everybody has a good dad. So be grateful for your dad on Father's Day, even though I know you'll be kind of sad. Kathy Goodwin said Darth made his choice to make a better life for his family. They just didn't agree and hid the kids from him. Not his fault. Wow. Really? Okay. Yeah. It's not his fault. I mean, think of how Darth was raised. Yes. It's not his fault. So, what do you think? Father's Day. You know what? I haven't had the opportunity to ask Adam yet, but I told Austin what I wanted for Father's Day last night. I said for Father's Day, I want just a lunch or a dinner with you, just you and me. And so that's what I'm going to ask Adam for too. Chevy Chase's cousin Russell in Christmas Vacation, worst dad. Yeah, he would be on that worst dad list. Good grief. You know, and that's Quaid, too. That was like Randy Quaid, wasn't it? Isn't that who that was? I think it was. Anyway, hey, we have a guest on Thursday's Blue Plate Special. And this guest is going to be fascinating for you. Now, by the way, if you haven't watched this week's podcast, it just came out this morning, and the podcast guest is Steve Shaw, who is a very, very interesting interview because he is the head of the NCAA football referees for all of the NCAA. And so just hearing him talk about some of his perspective on that stuff is great. And then Thursday, we will have a guest here on the Blue Plate Special. And he is a young man who is headed for Air Force Academy. And obviously he knew he was going to have to cut his hair to go to Air Force Academy. And, you know, you don't just get in Air Force Academy by saying, hey, I think I'll go to the Air Force Academy. I mean, you got to have grades, you got to have character, you got to have recommendations. I mean, you got to have a lot to get in Air Force Academy. And he is headed to Air Force Academy, and knowing he was going to cut his hair, he did so last week, and his hair was 19 inches long. It was in an afro, and he did that so that they could make wigs for kids going through chemo. And so we're going to have him as a guest on the show and ask him about doing that. And he wanted to raise money for that. And so he put out, like, you know, for people to pledge however many inches he grew. And he has raised thousands of dollars. And so he will be our guest on Thursday's Blue Plate. We hope you're here with us. Thank you for joining us. And if I don't remember to say it Thursday, happy Father's Day to you dads. Bye-bye.